Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Wherever you're listening around the world, a very warm welcome from London in the UK. Here is today's news about electric cars and the future of transport. My name is Martin Lee, and this is your EV News Daily for Friday, the 16th of March, 2018. Well, firstly, apologies for missing this as part of the Volkswagen press conference earlier this week. It's a small detail, but perhaps some would argue the most significant of all the announcements they made earlier this week. And that is quite a statement, given the fact that the headline number was 20 billion euros in battery contracts to get them going with. That's in comparison with 17 or 18 billion worth of Tesla contracts that they've got in the pipeline. So VW are talking mega numbers here. These aren't promises, these aren't press releases, these are commitments to clean up. Signed contracts for a battery supply in China and Europe, North America to come soon. And even that given, I don't think that was the biggest announcement they made. I think the most startling figure wasn't the 20 billion. The startling number was 100. Just 100 euros. That's the key number that I missed. But it was in a Q&A session afterwards, so that's my defense, right? The CEO of VW confirmed it has written battery contracts for under 100 euros per kilowatt hour for the very first time. And that's significant. Let me add some caveats to that, though. We don't know any more about the deal, whether there were a range of contracts, which, I mean, we know that's certain because they've got at least 3 battery suppliers. They announced that 20 billion deal. The lowest price might have been 100, less than 100, or the average price was 100 across all of them. We don't know any of the details, but we do know, unlike Tesla's Gigafactory with Panasonic, VW don't want to be in the business of making batteries and building factories to make the batteries. So 100 euros per kilowatt hour could well be the price for a delivered battery, which would be very impressive if that were true, considering hundreds of millions required for capital investment had they followed the Tesla route in actually making the batteries and building the factories to do that. Clearly some economies of scale, but they've gone the other way. That works out at around $120 to $125, which is competitive against GM, who said last year they were in the region of $145 per kilowatt hour for the Bolt. Now, given VW need most of their batteries from 2022 onwards, they're going to need some this year for the Audi E-TRON. They'll need some next year for the ID, the Neo, which is the first one, the Golf-sized car. But most of their batteries are going to be from 2022 onwards. Given the rapid price fall of batteries, if these contracts, which are 100 euros per kilowatt hour, are the contracts for 4 years' time, well, then that's more reasonable, not quite as stunning. We just don't know yet. But Elon Musk has often talked about the $100 per kilowatt hour being the inflection point when electric cars, whose battery is by far the most important thing in the car, become price comparative and perhaps cheaper than combustion engine cars. Well, given VW suppliers are going to be making a profit on those prices, I think that's good news for Tesla. And I'll tell you why. Although they do have sunk costs of the infrastructure of building Gigafactory 1, 2, 3, the staff, right, and onwards, the sheer scale of 500,000 Model 3s per year, increasing Model X, increasing Model S, the Tesla Semi, which is already on the roads, public roads and testing, the Model Y, which people are starting to talk about online, that price drop of $100 per kilowatt hour doesn't seem that far away. It wasn't that long ago. I was watching YouTube videos like the Fully Charged show with Robert Llewellyn, where they were talking about how the price had come down from $1,200 to $1,000 per kilowatt hour. I mean, it's a few years ago, right? But in the grand scheme of things, that pace of change hasn't happened with combustion engines that have been around 100 or so years. It's things that move so quickly with electric vehicles. That is a stunning number for VW, I think, to announce. Well, staying with VW, and their Audi brand is going to be out of the blocks with the E-TRON very soon. The prototypes, which were ferrying car journalists around at the Geneva Motor Show last week, were looking pretty advanced, actually. And now we know 2 things: when you can have one, and how much they'll cost. Well, the E-TRON is going to be available by the end of the year. As we said earlier this week on the podcast, it is now online. You can stick your £1,000 in and get a deposit paid for this. The price, it's not going to be cheap. It's €80,000. It's already on sale in some parts of Europe if you want to put your deposit down. Some extra detail, which I'm not surprised about, which we heard about this week as well. There's going to be a GT or a Gran Turismo version coming soon. And just like the Jaguar I-Pace, they see value in electric racing series supporting Formula E. So Audi might do their own thing, their electric Formula series. They have a halo effect when you do that on the cars and the brand as well. It's why Formula One spends so much by the manufacturers to get that halo effect. The Formula One Mercedes team is called the Mercedes hybrid team. Well, yeah, the engine in a Formula One car is nothing like the hybrid that you buy in your road car, but they say the technology filters down. So you're basically Lewis Hamilton when you're driving your Mercedes. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jaguar Land Rover's performance team allowed to tinker with the details. Thinking bigger motors, bigger inverter, maybe a bigger battery. Add some bells and whistles for a road-going version of the Jaguar I-Pace as well. And remember, that's as well as the Tesla-based Electrek GT Championship. That's now got FIA approval and looks to be on track to race later this year or earlier next year. I kind of get confused over when it's starting. Hopefully soon, right? Well, a quick check of the CHAdeMO website sees the total number of installed chargers heading towards 18,000 CHAdeMO chargers worldwide, up 30% year on year. What a year it's been for CHAdeMO. Countries and manufacturers are adopting and promoting the technology. One of the most interesting parts of the future EV economy is which ones are going to be used where. Now, I had this debate with someone on Twitter, a few people on Twitter earlier this week, because they were saying, which one's going to win? What if it's not about winning, right? What if it's just about having a multiple choice of EVs and plug sockets? So maybe CHAdeMO and CCS will merge, but maybe they won't. Maybe CHAdeMO will just be what they use in Japan and parts of Europe, maybe bits of North America, maybe Tesla will have to adapt their plug. Like the new Tesla cars are selling in China they've added the GBT plug, which is like 130,000 of those. It dwarfs everything else, which is the Chinese standard, which no one ever really talks about. It's always CHAdeMO or CCS, whatever, in North America and Europe. Well, CHAdeMO is bidirectional and vehicle to grid looks like it's becoming of a big interest, both to buyers and utilities as well, who see a large stock of EVs the perfect way to smooth out the peaks of the grid when electric generation becomes the most expensive. So bear that in mind as well. CHAdeMO also have confirmed specs for 200 kilowatt chargers. That's quite a long way down the line, and very soon, if not already, I know the 400 kilowatt specs have been draft published. That might be confirmed soon. So 400 kilowatt CHAdeMO charger, that pretty much future-proofs even the most aggressive of people who want a fast charge. Once again, worth saying, nearly all charging. Recent study showed 96% of all EV charging done at home and at work. If you live in an apartment or a flat, sure, you can't do that if you've got no driveway, so maybe a rapid charger is of value to you. You rapid charge once a week, and then you use that as the equivalent of going to a filling station, the current model of sticking some petrol and diesel in your car. Most people are charging in there outside the house and at work as well. Fast charging isn't necessarily the healthiest thing to do for your batteries as well. Got to keep the temps under control. So, if you can, just charge slowly overnight when the grid isn't under as much pressure. Well, moving on, and Hyundai, that's a new name for them. Hyundai have been talking to Electrek about the cold weather performance of the brand new Kona. Every day I want one of these more and more, actually. It comes with a heat pump, which is a very expensive option on some other EVs, and we know it adds big range. On the Golf, for instance, it's quite a significant upgrade on the brand new Golf, but the heat pump option can add some miles. Electrek say the smart air intake recycles heated air, and it controls the amount of air entering and exiting the vehicle. Now, by better controlling the airflow inside the vehicle, the HVAC system is able to heat the cabin more efficiently, thereby minimizing the amount of heating during winter driving. There's also, this is cool, why have we never had this before? Maybe you have in your car. I don't drive nice enough cars. There's a driver only button, and if you're in the car on your own, you just hit the driver only button and it will just direct heat to you. That is in some EVs, but I didn't know if it was as simple as an option as simply one button on the dashboard, and it turns off the passenger heating and it saves a few extra miles. Now, maybe those options above aren't so critical with the big old 64 kilowatt hour battery that the big Kona is going to come with. With the smaller, more affordable, worth saying, 39.2 kilowatt hour pack, it's going to add valuable miles to the range. Well, Panasonic's confirmed they've started production of a new prismatic battery facility in China. Panasonic are going to manufacture the high-capacity and high-safety prismatic-type batteries at their factory and ship them to North America and Chinese markets. That gives them now facilities to serve everywhere they want to: USA, Japan, and China. And some big European news. I imagine we'll hear more this year. Well, finally, Tesla has started an over-the-air update of their latest new software to owners, and those testing it have reported improvements to the autopilot system. Now, we knew it was coming. Elon said on Twitter it was coming. We were never in doubt it was coming, but it's finally here. Tesla say that Electrek say that Autopilot 2 /2.5 drivers who have reached out to the Electrek websites are seeing significant improvement in lane detection, a reduction of ping-ponging when it bounces between the white lines in a lane, and generally better experience when auto steer is activated. Now, some are also reporting that more efficient traffic-aware cruise control is in place to help you slow down and stop when locked into a lead vehicle. Where do you stand on the whole Autopilot 1 versus Autopilot 2 debate? In another report, by the way, the general responsiveness and speed of the touchscreen in Tesla Model S's is said to have been noticeably improved by this update, which Tesla describe as only bug fixes and improvements, slightly understating it maybe. Well, thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it as always. I'd love to spread the word about electric cars. If you can, share this with somebody who might be interested. Listen to every previous episode of the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and the blog evnewsdaily.com. Subscribe for free and you get every new episode. They're daily, that you get them first and you get them free. It would really mean a lot if you could possibly rate and review on iTunes, and if you have an Amazon Echo, download our skill, search EV News Daily if you want this audio as a flash briefing to start your day every day as part of your morning news update. I do that on my Alexa device, my Amazon Echo, and it is super cool. I've got 2 or 3 different skills, flash briefings installed, and that way I'm up to date with news, sport, and the things I need to know. It's a really interesting thing. More and more people are doing that if you haven't tried it yet. On Twitter, we are at EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I will catch you for the weekend edition tomorrow.